President Trump has signed an executive order that targets mail-in voting.
It calls for the Department of Homeland Security to create a list of verified U.S. citizens who are eligible to vote.
The U.S. Postal Service would be directed to take new measures to ensure ballots are sent to eligible voters. That includes a barcode placed on ballot envelopes.
Secretary of State State Bellows issuing a statement following that order. It says in part, quote, President Trump clearly didn't get the copy of the Constitution I sent him. This executive order is laughably unconstitutional, and Maine is not going to obey in advance because the president isn't in charge of elections, the states are.